All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Schuylkill Saturdays. Looks like it's still trying to load. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Schuylkill Saturdays. My name is Aaliyah. I'm the Director of Education at the Center, and we are doing this every Saturday at 10:30 until we're able to meet in person again. So I'll just wait a few more minutes as we kind of wait for people to join us, and then we'll get started. So while we wait to begin, we're going to be talking about rocks today, and I'm really excited about this topic. So looking forward to getting into it. So I hope you guys have been enjoying our virtual Schuylkill Saturday programs. It's kind of a new thing for us, but it seems to be going really well. So let's see if I can see who's watching. Okay. Oh, no, this is something different. Alright guys, so we'll just wait just a couple more minutes before we get started. There we go. So see if we can close this window, get it out of the way. Alright guys, so if you're just joining us, again, my name is Aaliyah. I'm the Director of Education at the Schuylkill Center, and today we're going to be talking about rocks and minerals. So again, before we get started, if you guys can hear me, then give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Thumbs up or a like. Gosh, how do I get rid of this? How do I get rid of this chat window? There we go. Okay. Alright guys, so just 1 second. So we got a few more viewers, so let's go ahead and get started. So again, if you're just joining us, my name is Aaliyah. I'm the Director of Education at the Schuylkill Center, and thanks for joining us for our virtual Schuylkill Saturday program. We do this every Saturday at 10:30, and we're going to continue with this new Facebook Live way of doing Schuylkill Saturdays until we can meet in person again. So today we're going to talk all about rocks and minerals, and I really love rocks. It's a great way to engage with nature. I love rocks because, first of all, they're beautiful. They're also really accessible because you can find rocks just about anywhere, and you don't really need any kind of special equipment to find rocks or to study them. You can use some special equipment if you want to get really technical, but it's a really easy thing to get started with no equipment, and just really easy to appreciate. I also like rocks because they can tell us a lot about the history of our landscape, and the types of rock can influence the type of soil that develops on top of it, which can also influence the types of plants that develop in that soil. So rocks are, even though they're part of the abiotic environment, the non-living environment, they end up affecting a lot of things in the living environment. So let's get started with what rocks are. So what is a rock? Rocks are actually parts of the Earth's crust. So when you hold a rock in your hand, you're actually holding a piece of the planet. So that's a pretty cool way to think about it. And how are rocks made? So rocks are made in many different ways, and we kind of classify the types of rocks that we have depending on the way that they're made. So one type of rock is made from when magma that's underneath the Earth's surface cools. And when I say magma, what I'm really talking about is liquid rock. So way down underneath the Earth's surface, it's really, really hot. So hot, in fact, that the material, the rock material that's solid on the surface of the Earth is more of a liquid. And that molten rock can cool down as it moves further up to the closer to the surface of the Earth, and as it does, it solidifies into a type of rock called igneous rock. So when magma is beneath the surface of the Earth, we call it magma. But when it comes up to the surface, we call it another name. And when that cools, that forms a different type of igneous rock. So I'll pose a question to you all. Can you guys name for me what we call magma when it comes to the surface of the Earth? Give a couple minutes to let's see. Let's see. So I'm actually not able to see comments. I'm not sure if nobody is commenting or if I'm just not able to see the comments. But when magma comes to the surface of the Earth, it's called lava. So that happens when it comes out of a volcano, and when lava cools, it forms igneous rock. And so let me show you an example of an igneous rock. I'm actually gonna try using this little magnifying setup I have here. Let's see if it's easier for you to see the features of the rock. So this is a type of igneous rock. Kind of put it up here so you can see the features. Okay, that works. All right, so check out this rock. This is a rock that has lots of holes in it, and those holes are formed from when the lava cools and gas is escaping from the cooled lava. Can anybody guess what this rock is called? It's a pretty common type of rock. You may have heard of it before. Sometimes you'll see this rock used, it's kind of manufactured and used as an exfoliant. So, okay, now I can see the comments. Lava. Okay, really good. Good, Kyle. But this kind of rock, anybody know what kind of rock this is? What kind of igneous rock this is with all the holes? This is a type of igneous rock called pumice. Okay, so it's really light because it has all those holes in it, and pretty cool looking kind of rock. It almost kind of looks like coral. Okay, so some features of igneous rock. So besides gas bubbles that you can see in some igneous rocks, they also will sometimes have crystal grains. So as you can see in the sample here, lots of really shiny crystalline pieces. Okay, that's really a feature that you see in igneous rocks. And another type of igneous rock, we'll get to this one later. We'll have that be a special one. Okay, so igneous rocks, that's one type of rock formed from cooled magma or lava. And another type of rock is called metamorphic rock. Now, metamorphic, that word might sound familiar to you. Kind of sounds a little bit like metamorphosis. So metamorphosis is the process that insects and amphibians undergo to become adults, where their whole body changes. And so metamorphic and metamorphosis both have the root word metamorph, which means to change. So metamorphic rocks are rocks that have been changed. Not only is it really hot underneath the surface of the Earth, but there's also a lot of pressure. And so when rocks are subject to the heat and pressure underneath the Earth's surface, the sort of compounds, the crystalline structures that make up the rock are changed into an entirely different type of rock, and that's called metamorphic rock. So let's see, what's a good example of a metamorphic rock? So metamorphic rocks will often have layers. Okay, so let's see if you can see the layers in this rock. Okay, this is a metamorphic rock called gneiss. Okay, it has lots of layers in it. And let's see, what's another good example of a metamorphic rock? Okay, so another feature that you sometimes see in metamorphic rocks, take a look at this one, how it has kind of streaks of color coming through. I'm not sure how well that's showing up on the camera, but it's kind of got this rose color, but it's got some kind of white streaks running through it. Okay, that's really indicative of metamorphic rocks. Okay, let's see. So Kyle, you asked, you guessed schist. I'm not sure if that was for the pumice or not, but yeah, exactly. Yes, pumice for foot beauty. So let's see. You know, this one, I'm not sure if you're referring to this one, but this does kind of have some similar features to schist. We're going to take a look at some schist later on. Okay, now we talked about igneous rocks and metamorphic rocks. The third type of rock that we're going to talk about today is sedimentary rock. So when you hear that word sedimentary, it probably reminds you of sediment, and that's exactly how, that's what sedimentary rock is formed from. So when sediment is deposited over thousands and thousands of years, layers upon layers, as it's deposited on top of other layers of sediment, it is eventually pushed down and compressed and compacted, and it forms sedimentary rock. And one of the things that you can look at in sedimentary rock is that it looks like it's made up of little tiny individual grains. So take a look at this here. This is a sedimentary, oh there we go, I should have done that earlier. This is a sedimentary rock called red sandstone. And if you look closely, you can see that it's got little tiny grains in it, almost like little sand grains pushed together. There's a couple larger pieces in there as well, but that's a really good indication of a sedimentary rock. Okay, let's see. Sedimentary rocks can also have fossils inside of them, so this is a really cool one. This is called shale, and this is a sedimentary rock. It actually doesn't have very visible layers in it really, but it's a type of sedimentary rock that often has fossils in it, and you can see this is a fossil of, what is it? Can you tell what kind of plant that is? A really, really old type of plant, old evolutionarily. Let's see. Jennifer asked what my necklace is made of. You know what this is? I believe these might be pieces of turquoise. So turquoise is another type of material that we see in rocks. So this is a fern. This is a fossil of a fern that's in this shale, and that's pretty cool to see. So again, fossils or rocks can tell us a lot about the past. It can tell us a lot about the types of animals and plants that were living in an area and how their remains were kind of deposited in the soil and preserved in the earth. Okay, let's see. So we've talked about the three different types of rocks. Let's see if we can, oh, one more thing. All of the rocks that we've looked at today have been sharp. Most of them have been sharp, and they've had kind of jagged edges. But I'm sure a lot of you have seen a rock that looks like this before, right? So it's kind of rounded and smooth. So what do you think would have happened to this rock in order for it to get so rounded and smooth? Yes, that's a fern, absolutely. I see these comments are a little bit delayed, so maybe I need to give give a little bit more time before I just go ahead and say the answer. So I'll try to give it a little more time next time. Okay, so yeah, this is a nice smooth rock. You can kind of think about where you might find a rock like this. A rock that's as smooth and round like this, you would probably find in a stream. Okay, so over time, rocks are weathered by the action of wind and water. And so what that means is, over thousands and thousands of years, this rock, maybe you've been sitting in a stream and had water flowing over it for thousands and thousands of years, and eventually, or little by little, that water is kind of eroding little bits of sediment off of the edges of this rock and carrying that sediment downstream. And it's leaving behind a really smooth surface. And by the way, when that sediment is deposited downstream, it ends up in the mouth of the river, sort of the end of the river where it meets with the ocean. And that's how we end up getting sand along our coastline. So when you start talking about rocks and all the different natural phenomena, it can actually explain a lot about our landscapes. So if you think about a mountain and rain hitting a mountain over thousands and thousands of years, the rain is slowly carving a river valley out of into that mountain and creating a place for the water to flow. And as that sediment is eroded from the rock, it's deposited at the mouth of the river, which is why you have sand at the beach. That sand is all the eroded remnants of mountains from millions of years ago. And by the way, that's also how our oceans got salt in them, from the eroded, the sediments eroding from the mountains. So rocks can tell us so much about our past. Let's see, let's take a look at some more rocks. This is a really cool one. This is one I almost showed earlier, but I wanted to save it for a little bit later. This is, first of all, can you guys guess what kind of rock this might be? Let's take a look at the features. It's all one color, which is kind of interesting. I don't think we've seen another, except for maybe the shale, another rock today that was all one color. Okay, let me try to get the glare. Yikes. Sorry about that. Okay, so you can see that it's really smooth. It doesn't appear to have any grains in it. It's kind of smooth and glassy. And if you think about it, it would take some kind of process to make this rock as smooth and as glassy as it is. This is a type of igneous rock called obsidian, and the reason that obsidian is so smooth and glassy is because it forms from cooled lava, and when the lava cools, it cools so quickly that there's not enough time for mineral grains to form. And so obsidian is a type of rock that indigenous peoples used to make arrowheads. So that may have been where you've seen something smooth like this before, if you've seen an arrowhead in the past. So one of my favorite types of rocks. It's really cool. Let's see. Oh, so another kind of rock. Let's take a look at this one. So if you can see the features of this rock, you kind of move it close to the camera here. Okay, so there we go. Okay, I had to catch the light. So you can see it kind of has layers. And what did we remember? What rock we talked about? What type of rock tends to have layers, ribbon-like layers? So typically, if you see a rock that has lots of visible layers in it, more than likely that's going to be a metamorphic rock. And let's see if you guys can figure out what kind of metamorphic rock this is. This is a rock that, in addition to the layers, you can see that it also has lots of little shiny flecks in it. Okay, those shiny pieces, that's a type of mineral called mica. So I realize we haven't really talked about minerals very much. So minerals are basically components of the Earth's crust also. And the way they're different from rocks is that minerals are made of one type of compound. So it's one type of compound and it's all the same. And the molecules are arranged in a really defined crystal structure. So that gives it certain properties. Rocks can have many different types of minerals in them. So this isn't the only type of rock that has mica in it. Lots of rocks do. You've probably seen mica before. And this type of rock that has mica in it that I'm looking at right now, this is really, really common in our region of southeastern Pennsylvania. And it shares a name with a creek that runs into the Schuylkill River. So and I think we've mentioned it at least once before in this video. So who can guess what type of rock this is? A really, really common rock that you will find here in Philly. And again, it shares the name of a creek that flows through our city and empties into the Schuylkill River. Let's see if you guys can guess what it is. I think Kyle might know this one. Let's see. So this is a type of schist, and here in our region of southeastern Pennsylvania, one type of schist that we have that's really common is Wissahickon schist. So Wissahickon schist is what this is, and if you go hiking in Wissahickon Park, you'll see a lot of this stuff. Okay, so I think we've got time for one more. I showed this earlier when I was talking about the streaks that you might find in some metamorphic rocks. So it's a metamorphic rock, and this is a metamorphic rock called marble. And you've all seen marble before. It's used a lot in kitchen countertops. It's really pretty, and it's a very common metamorphic rock. So I think that there are a couple of activities that I'm going to challenge you guys to do at home. We have a rock scavenger hunt that you can use to go look for rocks and collecting rocks in your neighborhood or anywhere you are throughout the city in a park. And when you collect some rocks, then you can use a dichotomous key. We made a dichotomous key for rocks. It's not going to tell you exactly what type of rock you have, but you'll be able to tell whether it's igneous or metamorphic or sedimentary. If you tuned in last week when Patty was talking about macroinvertebrates, one of the take-home activities was to create your own dichotomous key. So you can use dichotomous keys to identify lots of different things, and you can use the one that I'll give you a little bit later to identify the rocks that you find. So I hope that you guys enjoy looking for rocks in your neighborhood, and I hope you're able to examine them and appreciate them, and figure out what types of rocks you have. So I'll be commenting when the video is over where you can download the rock key and the rock scavenger hunt. Thanks again, guys, for joining us for Schuylkill Saturdays. Please remember to join us again next Saturday at 10:30 for another edition of Virtual Schuylkill Saturday. Bye-bye.